welcome to our show Taking India Global. When we talk of exports, we mostly focus on trade, merchandise and IT services exports, and that too to developed countries like the UK and the USA. But there's a lot of action happening on the project export front. Project exports have come to occupy an important place in India's export portfolio, about 1/3 of our exports today. And they have been diverse in nature, with Indian companies building power projects to railways to even real estate projects, be it in Africa, Asia or Latin America, thus demonstrating the engineering prowess of the Indian entrepreneur. What has made this possible is the backing of the Export-Import Bank of India, or the Exim Bank, which was instituted by the government way back in 1982 to provide long-term financing schemes to exporters. So in this episode, we bring you some of the very unique projects that Indian companies have gone on to set up overseas with the support of Exim Bank. Take a look.
Initially, India began its export odyssey with primary commodities and traditional manufactured goods. That was before the 70s. Soon after that, the engineering sector began to make its mark. But somewhere in the early 70s, it dawned on our planners that project exports will become an important aspect for engineering exports. But they also realized that project exports by definition require huge financing. So this debate on how to make funds available for project exports raged on for over 2 decades among the planners, and finally they cracked it. Export-Import Bank, or more popularly known as Exim Bank, came into being in 1982 as a specialized export credit agency. That it heralded a new era for India is evident. Today, 139 Indian companies are collectively executing 414 projects in 81 countries, and this contract is worth a whopping 1,89,736 crore rupees and has been made possible because of Exim Bank. Led by an impressive board of directors, Exim Bank offers a whole gamut of services like project exports, overseas investment finance, buyer's credit NEIA or National Export Insurance Account, lines of credit, and corporate finance. Clearly, by playing a catalyst role, Exim Bank is making life easy for exporters. Take the case of Africa. The buses and trucks plying on the roads in these countries are made by India's leading commercial vehicle manufacturer, Ashok Leyland. And this was possible because of a pivotal role played by Exim Bank. What the bank did was extend facilities such as buyer's credit under National Export Insurance Account to facilitate Ashok Leyland's entries into Zimbabwe, Tanzania and Senegal. Ashok Leyland has bagged orders for 2,000 buses worth more than $80 million in Africa.
Exports is one of the key strategic initiatives that Ashok Leyland is focusing on, and in the medium term Ashok Leyland is looking at 1/3 of its revenues coming in from exports. Africa has become a key target market as part of this initiative. But one of the important points that we have discovered as far as Africa is concerned is that most of the countries or customers located in Africa are looking for long-term financing. These are typically about 8 to 10 year financing, either backed by a sovereign guarantee or purely on the basis of the merits of the transaction. Exim Bank therefore has played a very crucial role in Ashok Leyland obtaining these orders. While the orders have been obtained because of the products and solutions that Ashok Leyland has offered, the one key part of the solution has also been the financing solution, especially 8 to 10 year financing that Exim Bank has provided, and these are at very, very competitive rates. This has been very crucial in Ashok Leyland getting the orders.
Exim Bank, by extending credit facility to overseas sovereign governments and government-owned entities for imports of goods and services from India on deferred credit terms, has helped companies like Ashok Leyland and others in a big way. Commerce Secretary Rajiv Kher sees great potential for project exports out of India under this scheme.
The buyer's credit program supported by the National Export Insurance Account is a broad framework within we propose to develop infrastructure in partner countries in the developing world, help our exporters and our project executing companies to find businesses there, and thereby build a long period chain of supplies from India for repairs, for maintenance, for service contracts and so on. So it is a much more sustainable way of doing trade in developing countries rather than a simple supply of goods which we do in the conventional trading. So that is what we are doing in Bias Credit and the National Export Insurance Account. Now this is an area which is very promising. We have so far covered about $1.7 billion worth of National Export Insurance Account resources, and we have a huge potential ahead. We are proposing to cover another 3 to 5 billion because that is in the pipeline dollars, and there is a clear recognition that this is one good way of creating a trade architecture which will be a self-sustaining architecture and which will create a long-term demand for Indian products and services.
Another country that has proved to be a beneficial trade partner is Sri Lanka. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off the 27.5-kilometer Talaimannar railway line project in Sri Lanka. Interestingly, this railway project was executed by the Indian government-owned IRCON International. IRCON raised $843.16 million from Exim Bank to execute this railway project. This has been under the Government of India's supported lines of credit for entering Sri Lanka and Bangladesh.
In Sri Lanka, when we entered with the first line of credit, which was for the southern coastal line. It was $78 million US. That was our first project in Sri Lanka. And thereafter, then the bigger project came in the northern province of Sri Lanka, which involved funding of about $652 million US for construction of railway line in the entire northern Sri Lanka. So the Exim Bank provided funding, and because of which we entered into the market of Sri Lanka. So it has been a great thing.
In FY 2015, Exim Bank had extended 17 lines of credit worth $1,669 million. Of this, 58% of the amount went to finance projects in Africa and 38% to Asia. It is funding of such good projects that has enabled Exim Bank to post good profits year after year since its inception. Some time back, it handed over a dividend check of 433 crore rupees for FY 2015 to its main shareholder, the government. On that positive note, it's time for a short break. When we come back, we will bring you much more stories of the transformational role played by Exim Bank. Stay tuned. The government is going all out to promote the country's exports. Towards this, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled India's new Act East policy in Myanmar in November 2014. India's Look East policy has now become the Act East policy.
What we are talking in terms of Act East as it translates to trade, we are now looking at how to utilize the ongoing institutional architecture of our neighbors and other partner countries in the southeast and east, and how we can connect with that institutional architecture, take advantage of the competitiveness that these countries have to offer by virtue of their factor advantages, and also try and look at how we become part of the regional and global value chains by associating ourselves with these markets.
Today, Exim Bank has made it possible for Indian companies to dream big. Take the example of KEZ International, which has a presence in power transmission, power systems, cables, railways, telecom and space. The company has bagged 68 contracts aggregating 15,548 crore rupees in various countries like Saudi Arabia, Georgia, Bangladesh, Uganda, Afghanistan, Nepal, Kazakhstan, Oman and others.
Our overseas revenues have grown from 800 crores to 4,000 crores in 5 years. And a major part of that has come only because Exim has been there to support us, especially in the new countries, Today we have got contracts in Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya and also Georgia, where Exim is playing a very key role in supporting us in getting us the guarantees and getting us all the required RBI approvals, etc. So which is where Exim plays a very critical role in ensuring that Indian contractors remain competitive and are able to comply with all the conditions of the client. And the second thing which I would like to add about Exim is that in spite of their 100% government ownership, I don't think they have ever let that into way of their decision making. Whenever we wanted urgent facilities depending upon the client's requirement, even in a couple of days, they have been in a position to sanction us those facilities and help us in winning contracts.
Another infrastructure company that has seen exponential export growth is Kalpataru Power Transmission. Kalpataru's relationship with Exim began in 2005-2006 when its exports were around $10 to $15 million. Today, it has risen to a phenomenal $400 million. Exim Bank has supported 11 contracts aggregating 6,469 crore rupees by way of post-award approval to Kalpataru. These contracts are under execution in various countries like UAE, Ukraine, Bhutan, Congo, Egypt and Rwanda.
We had a banking relationship with Exim Bank, which started when we looked at the international market way back in 2005-06, and that relation started with small working capital limits, and eventually it turned as a relationship which is more a support for everything which we do, right? Whether it is working capital limits, LC and bank guarantee limits, buyers credit facilities, everything. So today they have become like a partner for all international projects and no longer as a banker.
Even renowned construction giants like Shampurji Pallonji have been associated with Exim Bank for decades now. Exim support has enabled Shampurji to enter newer markets and construct architectural marvels like the Presidential Office at Ghana and the Sultan's Palace in Muscat, to name a few.
We were the first Indian construction company to go offshore when we constructed the Palace of Sultan Qaboos in Muscat way back in 1970s. And we have a significant presence there right from then. With all that, I have no hesitation in saying that the group leaned on Exim Bank when it made its foray into Africa, Latin America and other areas. We were guided by Exim Bank's officials at all levels, from chairman down to everyone, on how to go about it, which are the countries that we should choose, and what kind of projects would be possible to be undertaken there, and what kind of assistance Exim Bank can give, and the Government of India's line of credit program, how it can be of assistance to us. So with their assistance, we were in a position to make a significant mark in the last decade in Africa. We started with the Presidential Office project in Ghana. The Presidential Office in Ghana, which was constructed by a Government of India line of credit administered through the Exim Bank of India, has been ranked among the top 10 presidential offices in the world.
Now the government has set up an ambitious export target of $900 billion by 2020. Can that target be met? CNBC-TV18's Veena Krishna talks to Yaguvendra Mathur, CMD of Exim Bank, to find out how Exim is gearing up to fulfill the government's vision. That interview comes up right after a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Okay, Mr. Mathur, welcome to the show. We've seen in the first part of the show very interesting case studies on how Exim Bank has supported various companies in their projects overseas. So I would like to start with, what is the mandate that Exim Bank has to promote cross-border trade and investment?
Well, thank you, and we are very delighted to share about the Export-Import Bank of India, which was set up by an act of the Parliament in 1982. And since then, we are delivering on the mandate of the Parliament, this act, to really internationalize India and to facilitate the financing of international trade by India and Indian companies. So we really are a very specialist institution, a financial institution, which are governed by the Reserve Bank of India, as well as we are under the banking ministry. and we facilitate the entire Indian banking structure where it comes to very specialized operations for long-term credit. So 30 years ago, when other commercial banks were not equipped and geared to even provide short-term credit, so at that time Exim Bank was also doing letters of credit and other guarantees for shorter duration. But over the years, as the Indian banking sector has really become very strong, so now we are limiting ourselves to only long-term lending operations. So typically for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So long duration loans to Indian exporters or companies which are not able to access that finance, and particularly in countries where they are making investments or they want to sell their goods and in project exports. So that's the role of Exim Bank.
Yeah, so we've seen that Exim Bank has a large focus on project exports. So how are you helping companies, Indian companies, in project exports abroad, and what is the potential of Indian companies there?
So the real strength of our nation, while it is in merchandise as well as in services, we know we are an exporting country and we know our softwares, but there is 1/3 sector which is project exports, like you said. And just to explain, it's for example like a great company like Larsen & Toubro gets an order to execute the Riyadh Metro. So these are very big, humongous projects. Then even a prestigious company like Larsen & Toubro needs guarantees when it executes these contracts. They are paid for by the other overseas EPC as an EPC contractor. So we are funded as well as non-funded operations. And I'm very pleased to share that we have supported the top 100, 150 Indian project exporting companies, more than $30 billion worth of project exports, which is about 2 lakh crores. So large number of Indian companies in over 100 countries are executing projects. And for such customers, Exim Bank is providing a full range of services so that they can successfully deliver on their projects.
Okay, so now, the new foreign trade policy is targeting export revenues of $900 billion by 2020 from the current around $310 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, today a very dismal picture of exports is being painted. How do you see this target being?
No, I don't think it is dismal at all. It's a global slowdown. I think the Indian exporting community is suffering a little bit because Europe is not growing well, and but I think those green shoots, as we see that there, our growth is very good, and I think it's also the export of petroleum and other products that we do, which has slipped a little bit. So a target of 900 billion is entirely achievable. Of course, it will need more commitment from Indian industry to engage, and it's a little hard work out there. But a 900 billion by over the period 20 is entirely achievable. But the project exports will form one part of it.
Okay. I mean, a major part
is merchandise and services. So all these sectors will in tandem be able to deliver this $900 billion target. And Exim Bank is as a bank, we are looking at doubling our project export window. And there are various instruments which we have, various kind of new initiatives that the government of India is taking under the Make in India, Made in India program. So I'm very confident that this 900 billion target can be met.
Now coming to line of credit, one of your major financing scheme, and there's a lot being talked today that we are giving cheaper loans to Bangladesh. Can you explain what is the issue?
I think there is some misconception. These lines of credit are actually an export promotion vehicle, and it is a loan given to a friendly country, and it is a decision taken at the government level. It is to enhance the bilateral trade between two countries. So the lines of credit are a very potent and a very perfect instrument to enhance bilateral trade. And typically 75% of the loan that we extend to a country has to be used to import from India. So for example, recently Prime Minister was in Bangladesh, and you would have heard $2 billion. So 2 billion would mean at least $1.5 billion, 75% of 2 billion would be utilized by Bangladesh authorities to import from India. They have to import from India, And similarly, the development impact of these orders, export orders to Indian companies would be immense. And some calculations have indicated that direct, indirect jobs over the lifetime of the investments would end up to creating 50,000 jobs in India. And in Mongolia also, Honorable Prime Minister, and we are extending a line to Mongolia. These are new countries where Indian project exports have hardly gone. So now Indian goods and services would be displayed out there, and then the commercial lending and Indian companies can then go and set up. So this line of credit is like the first wave to take Indian goods and services and projects to a new country. And as much as $17 billion worth of lines of credit by Exim Bank have been extended to about 65 countries.
So what is the role that you see Exim Bank playing in the next 5 years?
Oh yes, so we are looking at engaging with other ministries of Government of India, and we are looking at the Shipping Ministry, the Defence Production Ministry, and they are also very keen to see that Indian public sector undertakings, Indian private sector in defence manufacturing, in new areas. Shipping is one big area where the government is seized. There are challenges, there is overcapacity, and the global trade is slumping. So we are looking at engaging to strengthen long-term financing being available for the entire shipping sector. So we are really contributing. We look at engaging with all other partner countries, institutions, and facilitating the financing so that adequate and long-term finance is available to Indian companies as they internationalize themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur. Thank you for joining us. Well, what comes out loud and clear is that the Indian entrepreneur can conquer the world if he gets the right financial support at the right time. On that optimistic note, it is time to end the show. Thank you for watching.